everyone, I'm back for more videos. This is my third one so far. I apologize for the late recording of the video last night, as I got a lot of time for a lot of stuff going on within my life and so busy with my personal life, which I don't have time to record. But I also fixed my channel, which I can do more topics on a longer video. Instead of doing 15 minutes or less, I'll be doing anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour to talk all the topics I wanted displaying in the videos. On key issues to key low to top end topics, where and issues where people might learn from me in the long run. And I got so many things going on. I don't get the real fun I get. But this is the video I do wanted to do, is talk about children and kids the age of 0 to 18. Is I been experiencing as I've been in 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure kids will feel what, and when they get older, is what they experience when they feel young. And I also want to go talk to parents. We talk about families and parents in the next session of the video, which is tomorrow. But children is always our economy. When we regrow, it goes to rebirth, regrowth, get older, and it from the middle of people's between 18 to 40, when people get kids, between 1 to maybe 7, it depends on how many kids people have, and they will feel the experience just like we do. And it's like a cycle patch goes around and it repeats, which happens all the time. But this topic's going to be about children and what they are, what the cycles are, and I experience it, and I'm going to share my experiences and learn some stuff on this channel. So yes, children have their own vulnerable ways too, just like people with disabilities, senior citizens, and really vulnerable people like pregnant women and disabled people and so on. But children come as babies. They can't walk, talk, eat, or do their own thing personally like older people do, which is unfortunately, but it's normal for everybody around the world. There's millions of them, and we can't change what kids can do. And parents have big responsibilities when it comes to kids. Like, kids are not gonna learn quickly, and that's why the parents have to do the big responsibilities when it comes to the big things. And we do all the hard work. See, I heard of people who don't like the hard work of changing nappies, for example, but which is unfortunately, but if we don't have kids, which is very hard, we can't populate. And if we can't populate, the economy can't grow. So that's why I want to teach families and parents in this video on how hard its kids are like. And I be myself as a kid. And it takes, some kids cry, some kids feel things we don't know about. Kids cry about real sharp pain, broken foot, very nasty pain. They experience it. We don't. We can't feel anything, but we feel it when it comes to that. As our emotions are feels. And when they get older, the age of 2, that's when the littler things happen. They learn to walk between 1 and 2 years old. It depends on the functional parts, and maybe a couple of months between 1 to 2 to 4 years old. They learn to know how to use words. But some babies and kids cannot learn how to talk due to speech and language disorders when we have to teach them how to talk. Maybe some parents don't know where to find these resources, or to find somewhere I can actually, or other parents or people may not understand how speech and language disorder comes in. But most kids will go into speech, or speech therapist is there. It's funded by the NDIS, DOTS, Family Canute Service, and so on. It depends on what departments you find. To teach these kids for 30 minutes to 60 minutes how to have their kids talk. Some words are difficult, like it can be W's, T, H's, and upper start, and so on, where words are so much. There's a million words in this world where it's so difficult you can't even know which word you're gonna say, and that's where the resources come in. And I didn't learn how to talk at the age of 7, and it's very difficult learning words because of the things I do is, but I still read and write like a normal person. But age of 4, preschool. Most parents go work 4 days, 5 days, maybe 6 days a week, where they can't look after the kids. And kids want to do something very fun, like playing with other kids, playing with babies, dogs, cats, and so on. And that's where the daycare centers come in. And yes, I know it's unfortunate for parents to listen to there's been incidences, but I'm going to talk to that in the next video about the vulnerabilities of daycare centers and most vulnerable people's facilities, which I will explain in the short term in the next videos. But preschools are functional. It happens every world, every country. There's thousands of them. We can't shut them down. It's for people, like for staff to look after them, and they get funded somewhere, which parents have to pay for childcare centres. They sit there 9 or 6 hours a day. It could be 3 or 4 days until they do their more. Most families, like mums or dads, might stay home. Maybe the dads can stay home and have sick pay, or the mums can, to look after their kids, grandparents, and so on. If there's the big things coming, like if they don't trust daycare centres, or places like they can't afford a childcare centre, which is a really lot of money. And the government is what I'm going to talk about is I love to fix the childcare centres, and it costs a lot of money compared to other countries. Other countries might cost less. Ours is between $40,000 and $70,000. Government is doing what they can. The federal government is doing programs to cut down on the costs. Like there's no schemes in place to cover the parents from having their kids in daycare, which is really sad, unfortunately. But kids have a lot of fun at least, and that's the good thing, where kids enjoy things what other kids want to do, read books, do things, play hide and seek, and so on, play in the sand pits with cover with sand, and so on. And after that is primary school. Kids learn a lot. Between 3 and 5, kids are going to learn how to play games, play Xboxes, want to do things like they want to have fun. Kids are kids, well, we can't change, but kids always love to have fun. this is where the next thing comes in this episode. Primary school. Year 1 to year 6, age 5 to 12 years old. I'll talk to high school soon in this episode, but preschool comes in, and I'm going to talk about my videos on disabilities in school in the next few videos down the track. But let's talk about primary school. Kids want to have fun. They want to learn different subjects, and they need, and there's thousands of them around here, funded by the Department of Education or New South Wales. Could be funded by different departments. People have to pay taxes for that. Has to go in the schools. People like me may not agree to build new schools and just spend the money what's out there, but government's doing its best to build schools from solid brick. Otherwise the buildings might crumble, and then they're using portable mobile classrooms, as I was saying, and they got fixed buildings, and they're massive, as big as wide as a football pitch, and they're so massive. Playground equipments, soccer fields, ovals, classrooms with different topics, and so on. Or youngest kids may want to do something, and that's where the big things come in. Big responsibilities. Most parents don't want it in science rooms, which I understand about. Where kids want to learn something, they want to do something when they turn 18 or go university, or TAFE, or other campuses where they want to learn something big in the future. But let's talk about primary school again. They want to make friends. They might want to have partners. I won't talk into that topic, but friends. Bring friends over, play games, hang around, do what they wanted to do, but still rules applies, like no bringing alcohol and no cigarettes, which most kids may experience at the age of 10. But that's the thing is, unfortunately, we kids run into some troubles. Bad things happen, like abuse. That's where the vulnerable things will come in when it comes into my next topics. But abuse comes in where some things may happen. We do have our Kongs imposed with primary schools again, which I wanted to talk about. Is the Kongs, like there's about around 200 to 800 staff in any given school, especially primary schools where the fundables are, where governments are changing every year to take sure abuse never happens, but some registrations are maybe a couple of decades behind, and it's unfortunate, but it's been gonna be a couple of fixes soon since the childcare thing in Melbourne and Victoria. I've been hearing some bad things about daycare centres and reviewing rules, and anyone with convictions cannot go into daycares, and having CCTVs inside private areas where you can't do your criminal stuff, which is unfortunate. But also, it's also different parts of school, like I'm going to talk about in the next videos, is support units inside primary schools, where some kids may have disabilities from birth, where they cannot go in the mainstream. Some can be capable going in the mainstream, some cannot. Some may be in wheelchairs and have pipes to his tummies. I don't know what you call them again, but I'm going to research that. Tubes. They have to feed food in the tubes into their stomachs as they can't eat. So they need assistance and staff hours to feed those people in need, to take sure they live for another day, or otherwise it's big responsibilities. So it's workloads where people have big responsibilities working inside government agency primary schools, where they have to support these kids in special needs, to feed these people, shower them, toilet them, just what NDIS staff have to do, which is a very hard work. But staff get big pays to do all this stuff, and parents may not like what they do. It's a line of duty of care. Duty of care is more important in our schools, in our primary schools, where there's been mishap in primary schools. Some kids in mainstream can have behaviour issues, and so support units, where we have to keep up with kids, talk to kids, we have counsellors to know what they're going through. And it's also abuse outside of schools, what I've been through, and which it shouldn't have happened, where the teachers inside schools should have warned about abuse. No matter you got 30 bruises, 60 bruises, 120 bruises or so on, it's your job, or any teacher's job, my job, to take sure there's no abuse in schools and out of school, where the kids are more vulnerable the most. And it happened before with me, and it's gone on for 4 years, and it should have stopped, but didn't work. It goes out, all laws and registrations are too weak, and the police don't have the evidence, and we do have the police back then to investigate child abuse, but we just don't have evidence and resources to stop that. And we want to take sure this new age will stop it. Stop abuse. I wish I can go out there, go in the wheel out and stop it just like a heartbeat. But we're not going to stop every person from abusing the system. We have to stop one and make them accountable. Which one person in daycare is still behind bars? But let's talk about, I'll talk more about primary school, which it is a big topic, and kids pick them up, buses, big responsibilities, and all these resources to take sure everyone goes to school and from home to home safe. That's where the big responsibilities come in, and which I will mention about, and where the stuff is very difficult around the clock, supporting those in need. And I want to take sure in around my next future videos, I want to talk more about kids in as my more experience. And next up is high school. Before high school, kids going a couple of days before the school holidays. Forgot to mention, there's 2 weeks for 3 times a year, plus the big holidays, which is 6 weeks. As kids struggle in school, and parents want to have them around holidays. So there's 4 holidays where people come in, take their kids on holidays, where school is very hard, and laws and rules that says kids must be in school. That's the occasion. Kids may not struggle to actually go to school to behaviour issues and can't go into schools. I heard that special schools are opening up to support those in Sydney that are struggling to learn. And that's where those funding, where the New South Wales government is funding in to stop the kids from having behaviour issues or any other symptoms, and all the struggles that parents might struggle to have their kids. I heard of one kid run away from a mainstream school because they struggle to be mainstream and they can't keep up with mainstream. Or they get bullied and get assaulted where the police may not or may not get involved and get big investigations by the Department of Education and so on. And that's why there's all guidelines in place that actually stop abuse from getting into the system. And that's why staff, kids, you also principals got a big massive job. As I will explain, is you got different amounts of principals, head teachers and support units and other head teachers for different subjects like maths, science and so on to support these boundaries. And I heard of those before and I didn't explain in real detail and all that stuff. And principals have a massive job to take sure they follow the rules, keep up the work, manage a train 100 to 1,000 staff, a train 200. Some primary schools are small, some medium, some are massive the size of a soccer field. And they have to manage all 1,000 kids inside a school. It is a lot in a video, but I'm trying to get way one by one to get the piece through. I'm trying to get through one video per day, trying to do as much as I can, but it's very, very hard work to announce it all at the same time. Apology for that, but I will do more better ones down in the future. And principals have a big thing. They get paid more, but they have a big role. They still have to follow rules from the Department of Education, and they manage all the suspensions. They can expel kids if they do the wrong thing. There's so many rules and guidelines, which I will learn more. But let's go to year 6, which there's a big responsibility is to we shall go their farewell to high school. That's where the big thing comes in. And I'll talk more in the next post and all that stuff and trying to get my head around that. Year 6, farewell formal. It can be a disco, it could be anything every 3 months. Most high schools do it, which if you're minded. Some of them have rewarding things like camping, fishing for a day, and do the big things. Some of them do cooking skills as a kid. Some may not have those luxuries yet as high school. Some schools have both. In the rural New South Wales, like Uella, Armidale, Glen Innes, maybe Tamworth, there's 2 schools inside one. You got a primary school and you got a high school into one. Because to save costs, and the Department of Education has to have 2 schools into somewhere. So they're putting 2 into one to save costs, and it's more efficient, which I heard of before. And I know people will say you should keep kids separately away from the teenagers, keep year 1s out of year 12s, which government may have different guidelines to. But high school, year 6 to year 12, 12 years old to 18, maybe earlier, depends on the learning. You got high schools are massive. There's thousands across Australia, maybe thousands in the New South Wales and more. And it's all managed by the same department, but what bigger tasks. You got more subjects, more buildings, you got a sports field. There's so many subjects like sports, science, history, geography, English, maths, and so on. Tech, cooking, woodworking, metalworking, library. You got so many stuff in a high school. Kids is range is 200 to 1,500 kids. range from 200 to 500, still follow the same policies, but more stricter and more responsibilities when you get older. And kids the age from 12 to 13 are still going to talk from home too. When kids get older, the responsibilities varies, depends on the child's welfare and well-being. As I will explain, it's so, and I'm going to talk about more departments on the way. And more apartments means more jobs, as we have barriers, dots, family and community services, youths and so on. Youths range from 0 to 18, as Keir the Minister, as these kids are being kept, they can't see their families. There's also sad news where kids cannot stay with their families until they're 18, and in which government doesn't want, and I was explaining that in the video. And there's so big responsibilities, but I won't mention much about high schools. They still have the same rules as primary, but they still have guidelines and that. They still have curtains for like primary schools and that, but kids have a big responsibilities and they're been through a lot still, and then counselling services are there and so on. They have support units and so on to support people with disabilities and wheelchairs, disabled, mental disability and so on, to support them throughout school life, which being changed over time to not, but I'll talk more about it. But and let's talk about parents and kids between 13 and 18. When kids get older, parents have more strict rules around their kids of what they can't do. Like, cannot watch and play Xbox, or watch M15 Plus or MA15 Plus. And there's been a couple hurdles around classification, which is owned by the Unications Media Authority, Australian Unications Media Authority. It's a bit difficult to explain, but it's to help force the rules on kids of what they can, what they can't do around movies, games, and movies, games, and so on. What they can and what they can't do. What you can't watch from movies, like aggressive content and vicious, violent content, which I'll explain more in the videos. But kids have the same responsibilities, they still have to follow the rules just like everyone else. But kids struggle more from abuse, drug abuse. Some of them at the age of 10 may have alcohol issues, which we can, and our most vulnerable is at risk in some most situations, and where we just don't have the power or the time to stop that if it gets out of hand. Some people on the streets may give an alcohol, be over the age 10 to 13, and it could be people on the homeless, where I will explain in the video, where they just don't want to follow the rules. Some don't care about kids, and giving cigarettes and alcohol at the age of 10. Police pull them over sometimes, take the cigarettes off them, and keep buying more out of our own pocket, which they used to be worth $11 10 to 15 years ago, but they've gone up to $60 due to the tax imports on the health. A tax burden with an increase to 3 to 10%, which is a massive amount. Where people can't afford it, people will go to their power to steal and to rob cigarette stores, which is bad news. And what's the government doing with it? I'll explain more in the video, in the other videos. But kids have been struggling in life is where foster care comes in, where that's where the most vulnerable will come in, where sometimes the parents abuse their kids, hurt their kids, smack their kids, or aggressively harm a kid, which I hate, unfortunately, which won't happen in my wrong run, and I will take stop to it. That's where the foster care system comes in. There are government departments and detection modes, child protection agencies to take sure the risk is mitigated. But there's also cons and pros with foster care agencies and facilities within the government, what I've been through. It's also cons and pros who looks after the kids. Despite having criminal records and workers clearance from the children's share, cracks slip through the nets, and we can't, and we don't know how we deal with it. Cracks go through the nets and brick walls where we can't manage, and government's doing what they can to stop it. And there's so many registrations inside child protection, and you have to fix every one of them to fix one crack. And there's so many, one slips through the net undetected and you cannot see it. But those safety nets are there for a reason, and some also with child protection, you got families who run their kids also want to run foster kids, and it's also foster kids no kids wanted to join in foster care to look after the young, as they don't have the resources to batten it on their own. But still run by the department, but foster carers have the same as parents, but separated and not birth-like. They have to have carers around to manage these kids, young as 0 to all the way to 18, and to know what they want to do in their future. And that's the big responsibilities. And that's the thing. And that's the thing why the system needs to change. But next, let's up to foster care and welfare barriers and refuge. You also got refuge too, I'm going to explain soon. I also want to mention about residential cares. There's about between 500 to 5,000 kids in those homes in Australia. In New South Wales, maybe only talking about a few hundred of them, which there's a lot of. It's like a church type home, not a church type home. It's like it might have 4 houses, 1 admin, sports centres and playgrounds. And also there's another thing, there's cracks in that too. I do wanted to join in on bits by myself and my partner, who is the co-founder of this business. I will explain about this person, what he's gonna do. But I also want to talk about universal cares now. Kids can be arranged from universal cares have 4 homes, maintenance sheds, administrations, parking lots to manage these homes. They have carers 6 hours a day. Some may have 9 or 12 hours a day, taking camping, all that, which is the same as what parents do. Taking out fishing, taking out to things what we do in that 6 hours period. And that's a big thing. And each cottage, some houses may be called cottages, some may be called homes, and some do have play areas too, which has rules. They are the more strictest. They still run under docks. They have the more strictest rules than any other homes in foster care, where kids struggle with drugs, alcohol, substance abuse, and other physical violence go in those homes. And that's something I really don't want to mention about, but I do want to mention it to take sure no kids suffer through that. Even with kids without criminal convictions, should not make the same mistake, which I experienced myself going in one of those homes as a disability, which is shouldn't allowed in the first place. And I want to go out there and fix it myself. That's another way for this little business to fix it with the government. And I want to take sure it's a stop to it before any more damage to these kids happen. And I've been through that experience where there's rules coming, case workers manage these kids or what they want. You got racial care, you got CEO, they have to, Docs has to bring $1.5 million a year to these homes, maybe $500,000, which is a lot of money. Staff, workers' page, parts, lawnmowers and so on to manage the budget, which is a lot in paper. And you also got 4 rooms in the cottage where you might have 4 to 8 kids. Sometimes they move kids to the next house to save costs, which most homes do. Some kids range from 7 days all the way to 4 to 8 years inside these homes. But there's a con, is it's not managed facility inside 3 different elements. You got disabilities that should not be going into these homes if they're not managed. You got people with alcohol. I've seen that through Racial Care in Grafton, which is a bad thing. It was the worst Racial home ever. And I got told by one of my friends it got shut down 2 years ago. God for that. They shouldn't have been shut down 13 years ago. They should have been shut down as they're not properly managed, and they're bringing non-violent kids and kids with alcohol and violent records, teaching younger kids to do dodgy stuff like shoplifting from Coles, Woolworths, doing weird things, punching littler kids and so on. And teaching kids with disabilities to do bad stuff and not properly trained to deal with these situations and don't have the protection modes they have. And I want to take sure I have a stop to it before any more damage is. And I want to share this with the government before any more damage is done. And I want to take sure nothing will never happen to these kids again. I seen kids got abused by the system, and DOCS, which is Family Community Services, are not properly managed sometimes, and they don't care where. Which is, I do say this, which I will share with you guys, is I've been through every government department where some of them have their own training system. You have about 90 departments inside New South Wales, right? Family Community Services might have experience with people with disabilities, but they have their cons and pros. But Family and Community Services is not a trained disability department, just like the NDIS. But it needs to be fixed, yes. And I want to take sure I fix it before any more damage is done. I want to fix it soon as possible, not next year. I want to go out there and fix it before any more damage is done to kids and children. Children is the fundable part of our system, and I want to take sure it's stopped before more damage is done. And our racial comes are the worst out of DOCS and family service I ever come across. There's a few dozen that have rules beyond their points, and I've seen kids in jails because kids teaching others to break the rules, and carers are not managed to stop it in time. And it's been too little too late, and I want to take sure I have a stop to it before any more damage is done. So I want to go out there and fix it before it's too late. And that's my goal, is to fix what's damaged before it's too late. And kids suffer through abuse and all over their years, and when they turn 18, I will talk about that with disabilities. I won't mention children when they're over 18. When they're mainstreamers, they have more responsibilities. Like LSL cares, there's living skills like cleaning, backering, cleaning your own bed to actually manage to teach them how to live on their own. But most kids with disabilities are not coping inside those homes. They're not meant to be home. I seen one kid got bullied up there by bigger kids, and this kid's their size. And I want to take shot. I have to stop to it before it's too late. And and also I want to take sure I have my powers to fix what I'll fix the damage will become created and fix it. I suffer through LSL cares and it shouldn't allowed in the first place. And I wanna and 2 years ago, my god, that place has been shut down because it should be shut down 13 years ago. It should be shut down since 2012 or 16 years ago. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. And I want to take when kids don't come back from home in that place, they have to have carers as I seen through their windows as I done my bit inside those homes. Is every time a kid runs away, they have to call the police to bring them home and make small escalation, and that I will talk about more in the video. And I seen these people call family community services and telling their kids run away from the home where it has crim safes and steel up doors where they can't even get out if they wanted to get out and have fun. And that's more abuse. You think kids are doing the right thing or the wrong thing? If you have any questions about what kids are being through inside these homes, please put a comment below. I want to hear about people's experiences, what they've been through. I want to see what's went on, how did they fix it, if anything sticks out of it, and I want to take sure these don't happen again. And I seen what carers do, managed by 15 carers inside one facility where they ring docs and say the kid's being run away from our house with its damn crim safe and you can't get out of the door, and you don't have keys to get out of those doors. You don't have keys like families give you keys to get in your own house, no matter it's a rental or not. And kids will be, when I went in there, you know what it feels like. It feels like a prison with crim safe windows, crim safe doors, where kids can't escape. Like, kids want to have fun during those times and all that. And feed them food during the dinner where the kids want to choose their own small foods instead of the same food. And kids don't like that. And if kids don't come home after 6 o'clock, they get a Vegemite sandwich, which is a punishment for kids that don't come home. Or the kids may not like the foods what they give them. It feels like a refuge home, unfortunately. But with docs again, if you don't come back home, they put it in the incident reports where they keep it on record where kids cannot go in foster care, which it may put more trauma to the kids' feelings. And that's why I want to make sure no facility will not abuse the kids ever again. And that's why I want to take sure I have a stop to it again. But it's nearly a bit of time. I'm gonna have my break from the thing, and I'm gonna take sure I'm gonna have a break, and I'll talk more about children and kids. So I'm gonna have my thinking cap on, and I'm gonna do more about this. I'm gonna have my pause on the video, and I'll do more, and I'm gonna think of more. This is gonna be finished for part 1, actually, and I'm gonna do part 2 later after I have my break. And I'll talk about families, parents, and elderly care still. Stay tuned for more. Take care. I'll see you guys soon in the next part.